It is late April of 2026, and the dynafish xiaonian might just be the best shoe ever made. The only problem is, it is from a foreign land known as China. Well, we have today a comparison with yet another foreigner, this one of extraterrestrial nature, the rad UFO. It is a gorgeous spring morning here in Rochester, New York. It smells like lawns and sounds like birds, and I'm in the rad UFO. That's it. Let's go. So far in the rad UFO this morning, I'm feeling pretty fatigued. I think it's probably a result of the workout yesterday in the xiaonian 6. And upon reflection, I was hitting pretty close to a 130-ish half. I think it was like 132, I don't remember. But that's pretty quick. It's not fast, but it's quick compared to what I normally do that in. And yeah, I just feel some muscular exhaustion. It's amazing how I could run so many miles in a week, and if they're relaxed, I won't experience extreme fatigue. But then one workout with an elevated pace, and my hip hurts, my calves hurt. What are you gonna do though? It's still a really pretty day, and I don't feel terrible. So far in the rad UFO this morning, I'm feeling pretty fatigued. I think it's probably a result of the workout yesterday in the xiaonian 6. And upon reflection, I was hitting pretty close to a 130-ish half. I think it was like 132, I don't remember. But that's pretty quick. It's not fast, but it's quick compared to what I normally do that in. And yeah, I just feel some muscular exhaustion. It's amazing how I could run so many miles in a week, and if they're relaxed, I won't experience extreme fatigue. But then one workout with an elevated pace, and my hip hurts, my calves hurt. What are you gonna do though? It's still a really pretty day, and I don't feel terrible. Around mile 8.5, and one thing I'm actually kind of wishing for right now is either more forefoot stack or less heel stack. I'm definitely picking up the 8mm drop of it. It's not quite as noticeable as the Puma Mag Max, but it's also a bit of a different use case than the Mag Max 2. And in this use case, I don't need all of that heel stack. I think it's more in the way. That said, the rear geometry does a good job keeping it out of the way, just not all the way. 13.1, 8:10 pace. That was definitely tiring. Obviously I'm always fatigued, but that was like It was easy, but it was tiring. It was like, sort of like the pop went out of my legs by the end of it. And I'm hoping that's not the case later today, because I'm trying to do another 12 later. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I really just want to get on top of the mileage so that when I run a race this weekend, I don't have to actually do a long run on that day, or like tack on an additional 7 after the half. So that's why I'm trying to get more mileage earlier on in this week. But yeah, the sweat's in my eyes right now. But it's a beautiful day. I mean, it's definitely warmer. Maybe that's a contributing factor. Not so much in Florida, though. It wasn't. But yeah, feels good right now, now that I'm done. And I'm going to bop back inside. And I will see you all later this afternoon in the xiaonian. It's hot. It's not Florida hot, but it's hot for Rochester. So let's take the xiaonian out for run number 2. Now, why would there be 5 Army helicopters? That's interesting. .1. Now we're in 40 minutes. 7:38 pace. I'm out here running 26.2 mile doubles. Even though either I'm sick or I'm allergic to everything. My nose has just been the whole time. Yeah, dynafish xiaonian. That's the shoe. Could be the best shoe ever made. It's definitely on its way towards compression fatigue long term, though. I can feel the foam starting to go. A dead dynafish xiaonian is still more energetic than a brand new rad UFO. That doesn't mean the UFO is bad. It's just like, it's how I am feeling it and experiencing it. Yeah, I think they actually complement each other really well because they're similar geometry but different drops and different pace bands. Like dynafish essentially picks up where the rad leaves off, and there's a small Venn diagram of pace, probably around the like 7:45-ish, 8-ish. That's where they overlap. Dynafish faster, UFO slower. Both great shoes. Lots to talk about. I can't believe I just did that. I'm so tired. With that, back to the studio. And we're back in the studio with the rad UFO and the dynafish xiaonian. And first, let me just go over that run briefly, that double day. That was a back-to-back 13.1 mile effort, sum totaling 26.2 miles on the day. And I don't think I've ever done that before. Double 13s, that was wild. And especially the run in the afternoon, I just locked in on autopilot in the xiaonian. I don't even know where I was. I sort of still don't. I just took a shower and I have run brain. But we're going to try to do this as organized as I am capable of in this state, starting with the specs and materials. I've noticed over the course of my doing ShoeTube that I often forget to mention vital components of information. So what you will see on your screen now is the spec sheet and the materials sheet. But we're going to go over some things right now anyways, especially to highlight some of the differences. Heel to toe drop in the rad UFO is 8 millimeters from 42 down to 34. And the xiaonian was a 7 mil drop from 41 down to 34. So it has the same forefoot, but just slightly different heel height. The midsole compounds for the xiaonian are TPEE, and for the Rad UFO, it is PIBA. I don't know if it's pure, unadulterated, good PIBA, but it is a PIBA blend at a minimum. It feels underfoot like it's probably a blend, but it is a nice blend at that. For materials, the xiaonian is much more sparse. The UFO is much more padded, as you would expect. And weight, we have the xiaonian at 200 grams, which I mean still doesn't compute. It's like dividing by 0. But the UFO is mildly heavy, 270 grams, though for the stack height, that's actually pretty good, not great. Guys, I think I did the best job with specs and materials that I've ever done. All right, bop it into the fit. The fit on both of these shoes, it fits. That's really all there is to say about it. I do actually notice that I get a little bit of big toe pinching on the xiaonian occasionally. This is something that I don't think I've ever actually mentioned on this channel because it's such a minimal like experiential thing that I often forget or have always forgotten to mention it. So tells you how significant it is, but it also might just have to do with how I have the forefoot laced. I haven't untied the xiaonian in a very long time. I have been slipping it on for some 100 miles now, which I really love that feature in a shoe. I was partially hoping that I would be able to do that with the UFO, but I tried such a thing today and it did not work. And actually, I was fiddling around with the fit for the first couple of miles in the UFO this morning, but once I got it, it was good to go. Hopefully that doesn't persist, because if I notice something like that happening with a shoe, it tends to start to annoy me. But so far, I mean, it's not been unreasonable. And they fit true to size. If you're in between sizes, I would go with what I did, which is your half size up for both of these. In the xiaonian, it's because they didn't have a 9.5. They don't make a 9.5. In the UFO, it's because I started buying all of my shoes in a 10, because that works a greater percentage of the time for me. Though there are some exceptions, but the UFO, I would say get in a 10. I think it probably could have also worked in a 9.5 for me, but yeah. That's the information. This isn't so much fit, but sizing itself. The UFO is a much larger feeling shoe in hand, not just by weight, but how far back the platform extends, how just big it physically looks as a shoe. It's much bigger as a shoe. And the xiaonian is not small. So just be mindful that this is a big chongus of a boat of a shoe. But yeah, that's the fit. Back. The ride. These two have a comparable comparison. They're comparable in one specific. Huh? These two shoes are comparable in one very specific way. It's the geometry. It looks it visually when you look at them, which is visually, and it feels it on foot. The not steeply, but the gradual Bodhi rocker on either of these shoes in both the rear and the forefoot. So if you look, you could see that the shoe on any pivot point just wants to float along like that. And this shoe has, the dynafish has even more of that floaty, boaty, wiggly shape to it. It is not flat in basically any position. And even along this axis, you can see, I mean, I don't know if you could actually see, but it does have a bit of a ridge line going through the midsole. So it's not exactly flat at any point. It's pretty rockered throughout. And the same can be said about the UFO, although it's a little bit flatter through this plane. I need to know the name of my planes. It wasn't plane, it was axis. So that is what inspired the comparison between these two shoes. The geometry, also the similar stack height, and stated purpose. Both are positioning themselves as super trainers. They both take a very different approach to it in everything except the geometry area. So I'm going to highlight some differences, starting with how it feels underfoot and then sort of branching off in a garden of forking paths into a bunch of things that just come up in my mind. The difference between these two in the sense of ride is the difference between them in the sense of energetics, and it really is down to the foam. There are a couple other areas I think that are different, such as how pronounced the rocker is in the UFO, but really the biggest difference underfoot that I've noticed is that the dynafish xiaonian has a bouncier feeling foam to my stride and to how I run in it. It feels bouncier to me, even approaching 300 miles plus a lot of walking miles. This still feels bouncier than the Rad UFO. That said, the Rad UFO for standing and going slower feels more comfortable than the Xiaonian. That much is clear to me after some 33 miles in the Rad UFO. I'm sure that I'm going to develop a more nuanced opinion over time. I also do think that at least it feels like the rocker in the Rad UFO is more gradual and less pronounced overall. It does less of the running for you than the Xiaonian. That's not to say that the Rad UFO is a slacker in the rhythmic department. I think these are both rhythmic prioritized shoes. Neither is going to be, pace record breaking. You're not going to run your fastest times in the world in either of these two shoes. But for protective, long run, comfortable, do it all daily trainers, I think that they have, I sort of said it at the end of the dynafish portion of today's comparison, but there's a pace overlap. So the UFO is everything sort of in the 745 and slower category, right? And the dynafish is probably everything in the 745 and quicker category for me, and maybe even 8. So maybe the dynafish goes a little bit deeper. It has like a bigger circle in the Venn diagram, and it eats more of the range of total mileage. But the Red UFO is much more suited around that 8-minute mark towards my stride. It's a little bit more enjoyable at that pace than the dynafish. I'm much more likely to pick up the pace in the dynafish. If I'm sitting around 8, I'm gonna lay into it a little bit more and pick up the pace a little bit more to get it to its optimal pace band. But I do think that the dynafish has the overall larger pace band, or pace Venn diagram circle chunk. Yeah. And a lot of how it feels to run in is not surprising. It's right there in the design language. The UFO is 270 grams versus the dynafish at 200 grams, which is just an engineer. It's freaking incredible. It's unbelievable that this is 200 grams. But the UFO being 270 grams in a 10 is, it speaks to what the shoe is doing. It's a more comfort oriented, a more robust. It's also designed with a lot of durability in mind. That ethos is extended into the upper, where there's just a lot more padding, a lot thicker laces, even a thicker tongue. The posterior heel flare, which normally I really don't like in a shoe. This jutting out bulbous component, that doesn't really need to be there, but because of the rocker, I think that makes the UFO manageable, right? If this were more chopped off and more flat on the back, it would be pretty choppy, but I have noticed very minimal chop, if anything, in the UFO. It's not quite as rhythmic as the Xiaonian, but again, I think we're comparing two different tiers of shoes here, in my opinion. But maybe not everybody would have that opinion. If you're rocking more relaxed runs normally, or if you're if you're sensitive to scratchier uppers or more minimal uppers, I think that UFO is something that's going to be more comfortable for a lot of people, especially if you're going to be doing any walking in the shoe. I would take the UFO over the dynafish, and I've traveled the world in the Xiaonian, but I do think that the UFO is overall a bit more comfortable on foot, at least for like standing still and going at slower paces, right? So, but overall, I do think that the dynafish has the better foam, has the better weight, in my opinion, and overall, it's just performed higher at a higher level. That doesn't make it a better shoe. I mean, it makes it a shoe I prefer for sure, but it's really going to depend on how you use these two. So I'll leave that there and pivot into who do I think each of these is for. And I do think that I've sort of already answered that to some degree. It's like if you identify more with walking and or like slower jogs and value durability really highly, then the UFO is going to be preferable. And if you value performance, relentlessness, rhythmicness, I think the dynafish is going to be a little bit better. And I think that this is now the perfect opportunity to bring up the price and availability, because if you cannot get the xiaonian, say you have a foot that's very large, or you're in a country that doesn't allow Taobao, or for whatever reason sold out at the time of me releasing this video, which I don't believe is the case, or any number of reasons. If you don't want to go through the hoops to get on Taobao or AliExpress or pay import fees, it could be a little bit of work to get the xiaonian. Then I think that the rad UFO, it's not exactly what you'd be getting in the xiaonian, but it gives you an idea of what the sensation underfoot would be, but at a heavier weight with a slower pace range. So I think that the geometry is really incredibly similar. The drop does feel different though. I noticed today in the UFO that the drop is a little bit higher feeling than the xiaonian. I wouldn't say that the xiaonian feels like 7, but that's what I believe their stated stack is, or their stated drop. Yeah, I think that the rad UFO might be a good like little taste test of what the xiaonian is offering on the Western market. The big difference here is price. I was just on Taobao and I saw that the xiaonian is about 533 yuan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think that's converting to about 80 to 100 bucks. And that is half the price of the rad UFO. And I mean, this is, in my opinion, it's a better shoe. Not based on price, not value proposition wise, straight up a better shoe. So yeah, I mean, that's the comparison between the two. The downfall of the dynafish is going to be the availability. Everybody already knows that. I think that the rad UFO is fantastic. I really am enjoying it. I mean, I took it out of the box for a 20-mile long run the other day, and I came back for it a couple days later. So that tells you how much I really enjoy this shoe. This comparison is with perhaps my favorite running shoe ever made. So it's obviously going to be a little one-sided. But for now, I appreciate all of your attention, and as always, stay in motion.